Hello. And check my sound. Yep. Check my sound. Yep. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. I do a quick summary of what we did yesterday. Not much in the end, not much. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Actually, yesterday, the first thing that I did was I created a systemd unit file or service file for the tablet forwarding thing, and I did one for the tablet itself. So there's like one for my laptop that accepts the connection, and one for the tablet. And there's a few things in there that were like a bit odd. The tablet one just doesn't restart after rebooting, and it just seems to be like removed. So I think there is an area of the like a partition on the system that's just is not persistent across reboots. So that might be a problem. The other thing is after reboot and replugging it in, the IP address that I was getting for my for the tablet itself, was it the tablet? No, for the host, was like incremented by 1. So instead of a 2 at the end, it was a 3, and because I hard-coded those values, that was a bit of an issue. So this is kind of the sticking point. I'm not going to spend more time on the tablet thing. Right now it is not working because tablet is not on. I don't even know if it's still on. Yeah, if I need it, I'll know how to turn it on. But that's where it's at right now, and we'll see if I want to do something more out of that another time. And then yeah, we started looking at the OBS kind of switcher client thingy. We didn't get too far. Basically, just looked at the WebSocket protocol in general. Looked at the kind of HTTP handshake. So you make like a HTTP request to upgrade to WebSocket, and there is a system where what you can send a key, and then you get back a base64 value in the accept header here, and you're supposed to validate it. I don't really have to, but you're supposed to validate it. And this is actually the key that you send, concatenated with a magic string, encoded with a SHA-1, and then base64 encoded. And yeah, I could have just skipped it and went straight to like, let's make it work and just accept that it works. Like just ignore the fact that someone could be in the middle. Although I'm not really sure what that protects, because anyone can just recalculate that value. So it's more of a hijacking an ongoing request, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so I thought it would be a good exercise to like learn how to use things like SHA encoding and base64 and stuff like that. And there were a few things that I was like a bit slightly frustrated with. Like base64 does not seem to be like, there doesn't seem to be a super universal thing out there. I did find this like a library like libbase64. I didn't want to go into the details of like doing the encoding myself, although that could be a nice subject to do, just like a little encoder decoder for base64. Doesn't seem like a terrible thing to do. So yeah, I pulled in a library, and for the SHA-1 I did like a libssh thing. So except from keys here, there's a warning that's left there that I need to look into. But yeah, that's what it is, right? That's the size, the key and the magic. Put in the buffer, the key and the magic together, and then the digest is 20 bytes. SHA-1 is super simple to use from OpenSSL. Give it the input with its length, and you get back the thing put in there. And because I know it's going to be 20, I just put 20. And then the base64 one is a bit more tricky, and there was a bit of a complexity there. There is some calculation to like know what's going to be the final size of that base64 string ahead of time. There's a state that you need to provide that you encode at the beginning, and then you do encode block. And the thing that I was missing was that you do need to call encode block end to get the last few bytes, and I was not getting it. But now it's there, and the magic is this one. That should be a normal hardware stuff. So what I have here is that if I run this, I don't get much there. I should actually remove this hello, it's just useless. It was just a debugging thing. But I get nothing, which makes sense because my key is not mismatching because what I'm sending is correct. To test it out, I could just like add another value here and just run it. And then now I'm getting key mismatch. So that seems to be working just fine. But yeah, so this basically says I'm connected. And if I go to OBS, I should be able to go into log files and view current log. And here, see it says I was disconnected, end of file. So if I was to go back here with the correct value and run it, I'm not getting much. I think, yeah, debug logging that gets deactivated on restart. So that's why I'm not getting everything. But now if I just do it again, now I'm getting a bit more. See, there's debug logging and it says it's sending, when you connect, it automatically sends this this payload. And there's actually two, from what I see from the protocol, from like a WebSocket, well, I'll find it. There's not like there's no, it's weird, there's no documentation. I can't find documentation, like a clear one. There is a list of clients that implement it, but I think the reason why is because OBS Websocket used to be a plugin, and in more recent version they've added it in the core. So I think the documentation for what I'm looking for is in here. And that's why I was looking yesterday. Last thing I was looking at is like set current program scene, which seems to be accepting a name or a UID. So we're going to be able to play with that. But there's two ways of communicating. They do JSON, and then there's like a pack thing. There's a protocol called JSON actually, which is interesting. I don't know if this is a standard thing. There you go, message pack. So message pack over binary frame. So I guess message pack is a real thing. It's like JSON but fast and small. Okay. Yeah, I'm more interested in decoding something like this as an exercise than I am in looking into JSON. Because JSON, I've kind of done it already. Like I could literally get my little like JSON, it's not really a parser, it's just browsers it, I guess. Navigator. I'm more interested in this. This is actually quite fun. So yeah, I want to see, I'm going to try to read this protocol and see where we can do that. But going back to here, it seems like once connection is created, and it immediately sends a opcode 0 hello message to the client. And I imagine that the hello one is the one that we're just seeing here. Yeah, OP is 0, so opcode 0. And the data seems to give me the version, the WebSocket version and the RPC version. So yeah, so that's going to be, so the plan is, there's actually two paths, and I was doing a drawing yesterday, I don't know if it's still here. Yeah, there's actually two paths, right? The thing that's going to, for this iteration, the thing that's going to kick off this, a scene change is going to be sway. I'm going to have a key binding in sway. And then sway has like two ways of doing it. One, it can write to a Unix domain socket, which my stuff is listening to. My stuff is my program, right? And that would then trigger stuff in OBS. That's where I can use that in my EPOL. Or my stuff is actually not running as a service. And when I hit the key with sway, I can just give like maybe like an argument. And it would just, you know, start, connect, send the command, shut down. Like it would just do that. That was one thing. So I don't have like this thing that's ongoing. I like the Unix domain socket one because it seems like not making a new connection all the time is great. I think the right thing to do would be this one with just the arguments in the CLI, because I don't think I'm going to be needing, for this program specifically, I'm not going to need to like run it nonstop. Like when I'm testing it, I'm going to spam the buttons, yeah. But like in real use case, like where I'm actually going to use it is going to be, you know, even if it's in the order of magnitude of like every 5 seconds, I need to change it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's worth doing something like that. Although, if implemented correctly with EPOL, having a WebSocket open should cost nothing if I'm not listening to anything, because the kernel is not going to do anything until there's something on the WebSocket file descriptor. With the caveat that it is very much possible that I may need to have a keep alive sent, but then again, that's going to be so infrequent that I don't really care. I think that we may get to this area maybe today, I don't even know, and maybe we'll look at this, because the problem with this is that unless I use a very simple protocol between these two, and I actually in SWAY I use netcat or socat or one of those that allows to write fairly easily from the command line to Unix domain socket, I'm going to have to make a client here that then starts connect the Unix domain socket and just sends a command, which just saying it out loud right now just makes me think that I might as well just do this one, because it's going to be the same thing, except that instead of every time it starts, it connects to a domain socket, Unix domain socket, and sends it, it's going to connect to OBS. Anyways, enough rambling about this. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Before I get started writing some code, I do have a question, because I got a new microphone, and I just tested it. Like, I did a few recordings and tested some settings and stuff like that, and I'm happy with the current result. But I was just wondering if that is a noticeable difference, if it feels like I'm far away or whatever, or like, because sometimes I move back, I go closer, and I don't know how that's going to impact the quality. But all that to say, if stuff sounds like a bit off or odd, it's something that I would like to know as I go, so I can just like check those things. Right. How do I go about this? Changing the scene, it looks like I can do it from the name of the scene. So I may test it by just sending a TCP frame, which I think they call frame, with a message pack encoded thing, and then send it with the scene name that I know ahead of time. I'm going to start with that. And actually, just to get warmed up, I think I'm going to switch to, well, first of all, I'm going to define something here, which is going to be, what is the name here? Protocol. So I'm going to say WS protocol. And I'm going to say OBS Websocket .json. I'm going to switch to JSON temporarily, because I can easily write a JSON string, and then we can test it out, and then I'll try to work the message pack protocol, which I think is an interesting one to look at. Right, protocol. What's interesting with the protocol is that, I mean, oh yeah, I guess I am missing one case here. So, let me just, okay. I'm a bit all over the place there. First, I'm going to tidy this up. This is my function that receives something from the server, so I need to read and then decide what to do with it. But I have an internal state where, you know, I need to send a handshake. Like, if it's before sending the handshake, then nothing should happen. If it's I send the handshake, I should check the thing and then move the state to upgraded. If it's upgraded, I should do this, I should do that. So I actually want to split it so so I don't have like a giant, you know, I don't care. Let's make a giant function. Else, if state is state upgraded, printf, I'm just going to start by printing stuff. S, and it's going to be received and buffer. Okay. Right, so that's pretty good. Now, this W at the beginning feels like it might be some kind of wrapping thing around WebSocket. There may be like a thing in there, like this W there. But yeah, so I've got some JSON there, which is great. So let's see, WebSocket Wikipedia. Frame-based messages is what I was looking at. So there's a fragmentation. So an unfragmented message consists of one frame with polygon 1 and opcode different from 0. The fragmented message, when we look at that unfragmented to start with. So this is an offset in bits. So it looks like there is a little bit more than a byte. You'll see that varies there. Maybe at the beginning of the frame. And what's interesting is that I imagine that if I get W and I try to get the actual, let's say I want to say the first character received, buffer at 0, I'm going to say, I think this exists. Okay. So I could assume that this is final forever message. I don't even know if the one that's there means that. Yeah, this must be 0. So I think that's probably in the other order, if I'm looking at the right way. So I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, because opcode is going to be 0. So let's see. I got 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I got 2 more zeros, which the frame is not masked, and the length of the payload would be 0, which doesn't seem correct. Well, actually, oh, there's a size here, so obviously I'm completely wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there will be 1, 1, 2, 3, 7. So this is, I assume this might be the fin thing. Then I've got 3 that should be set to 0. 1, 2, and 3. And then I've got 4, which is the opcode. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that one does not seem to be 0. That is not really what I want to. So 0 would be continuation, and 1 would be UTF-8 encoded text. That seems to be correct. But I would assume that this is like in the reverse order. So this would be UTF-8 encoded text, which seems correct. Okay, what do we have after that? I got a bunch of ones. Where was I? I was a bit earlier, here. And then one frame is masked, masking is present, not masked. The payload has been XORed with the masking key. That doesn't seem to be correct. I may be very lucky and just like I looked at these values and they're correct. I just don't know in the order in which they appear, because I'm getting the first, in reality I'm getting the first I'm getting rid of 1 and 0s there. That seems a bit suspicious. Buffer at 0 should be char, which is 8 bytes, and yet I'm getting quite the bits. I guess buffer at 0 is also, no, that doesn't seem correct. I'm not getting W. Okay, so W was something different. Okay. Just okay, so everything is frame based. Sorry, I was just checking if it's like possible that some of it is not frame based, but it is. Okay, I think I'm printing it incorrectly, and I need to figure out how do I get like I need to figure out what's the size of the header of the frame, because imagine there is a header, right? This is the frame structure. There's fragmented and unfragmented, and then I've got payload length somewhere, and then I've got something that varies, and then the payload. So I want to see like all the way up here. What's all the way up here? So 0 or 32. So it is going to be quite changing, I guess. But surely you would need to have the header at least aligned. There's info about the endianness. That's interesting. Okay, because all right. I need to refresh my bitwise operators there. Buffer at 0 is going to be a character, right? Yeah, so it's a char, which is going to be 8 bytes. And if I want to get the first, but what I'm not too sure about is like the left, in which order it is, right? I could just test some of that. I need to test some of that because I don't want to be assuming stuff wrong for ages. So let's say I've got a char t, which is 1. Okay. Can I printf something? I'm going to do a d. Why not? That is. I want to read the first bit, right? And the first bit means that I want to make everything that is not the first bit 0. And the way I make everything that is not the first bit 0 is if I get 1 and I do a end on both of them. So t and 1, which this is actually going to be 1, like there's going to be a moving stuff around. But I'll figure it out. So if I do this, okay, obviously I've got a lot of stuff that I'm printing. I see 1, okay. Now if I switch it to 5, I should still see 1. Okay, so that I understand. So what I could do is I could start having something here which would be bool I'm going to fen equals buffer at 0 and 1 in this case. And I think really what you do is this, or actually, right? So you get 1 and you move it by 0. Like you don't move it, right? So there I can start trying to log stuff, and then I'm going to say d and this might do x. Okay, so that should tell me 1. Okay, so let's see if I can do the protocol properly, because unless, so if that header was a fixed size, I would expect them to at least specify it, and if it's not fixed size, I can't jump somewhere to just know in which order to. So I have to assume that like I do character by character and then bit by bit in the character. The only thing that I worry is if my character is something with a 1 all the way to the left, wouldn't that mean that I should read that thing? right? Should I instead basically reverse it? So when I want to read the first byte, I would need to read the first bit. I would need to read the bit number 7. We're going to try both ways and see which one makes the most sense. The second thing is RSV1, RSV2, RSV3. So I'm gonna really do all of them and see how that works. Okay, 2 and 3, and I think this is how you would do it, right? Okay, RSV1. It's good, you know. At first I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, but I do need to refresh my bitwise stuff. All right, and just to be super safe, I'm going to say, do I know what I'm talking about? By doing this, right? And then 1 and 2, and I'm expecting 1, 2, and 4. That's what I'm expecting. Okay, I'm putting in binary, but this is what I have in binary. Yes, 1, 2, and 4. I was actually expecting to just see the 1 obviously climb up the thing, which should be 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so I do understand. And this is where I'm talking about, like I'm getting 1 and then 3 zeros, which seems like exactly what the protocol seems to say, right? Protocol is like 1 if it's the final frame, and then you got these 3 must be 0, right? Next is the opcode. Now I need to read 4 bits. This one's going to be a bit more fun. And I also need to remember that, like, well, it's interesting because 1, 2, 3, 4 plus the 4 bits is going to give me a full byte, which is my first character in what I received over the network should be complete at that point. And to be honest, what I could do is literally grab this and do this, if that even works. 4. To be honest, like I feel like if I was to do shift to 4, it may just work because I think it would 0 the thing on the left. But I remember from my Game Boy emulator time that there are some operators on the Game Boy that were cycling instead of just moving. So I actually want to test that out. What if I have this and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1, and I move this by 4? What shall I get? Option 1, am I gonna get this? Or option 2, am I gonna get this? Place your bets. Yeah, so it is removing the stuff. So I'm not gonna bother with the masking and literally just move it by 4. Actually, I think what a lot of people do, actually, they do the move and then they reset the other half, but that's what I don't want to do. So if I do this, now it's telling me that my opcode is 1, which in the list of opcode was like UTF, which is great. That's exactly what I need. And I guess the rest of the data didn't make sense for me because I was printing buffer at 0, but buffer at 0, for some reason, my character was bigger than I expected. Let's have a quick look at size of char. 1, which is 1 byte. And to be honest, as far as I've read, it's possible that a byte is not always 8 bits. Like C size of byte. See what I'm saying? Like, I'm specifically saying I want the size of byte, and then it's giving me the operator for size of. This one says this is the number of bytes. White char has 1 byte. Okay. Can a system have anything other than 8 bits per byte? So 16-bit on some other stuff. I'm going to assume it's 8. And obviously I'm not going to have a program that is portable to some Texas Instruments thingies. This is where I got really confused, because when I asked, let me try again. When I asked buffer at 0 to be printed as binary, right? What I had was way more than what I bargained for. And it led me to think that this is more than 8. So let me see. This is too specific of a question for Google, I think. In C, I print a char using printf %b backslash buffer at 0. I'm going to just do the whole thing. I expect 8 zeros and ones, so it understands what I'm talking about. But it prints how many of them? I'm just going to say how many. I'm just going to copy it. This. The binary representation of the integer value of that character as if it were unsigned integer. Okay, is that true? You don't need to go further than that. Is that true? Printf format guide. Another thing that I want to do at some point is just implement our own printf. So I'm saying, it's like, what is this? What is like? C++.com, CPP reference. You tell me that on the internet there is not a single page that is more, I don't know, better than that. Obviously I could, whoop, I'm writing in the wrong place. I could do this, right? Which, do this, right? But the question is this going to have the whole format in there? Well, it looks like it might. 0, field width, length modifier, yep, conversion specifier. I'm not seeing B in there. Is it maybe like specific to, maybe it doesn't exist and I've done the wrong thing. The intercom is converted to a signed decimal notation. The precision, if any, is a minimum number of. I'm a bit. libc stdio. Wow. Obviously, it's going to be difficult for me to search for the character B in this document because it's going to be in a lot of places. This is stuff I shouldn't really. I mean, no, the AI told me something. I want to have another source than the AI that can confirm it. It seems like something that makes sense. But what I'm really shocked right now is the fact that it compiles, it does something expected, but I can't see it in any documentation. And in reality, the reason, like, I tried it once and it worked, and I never, in my mind I was like, does binary, and I tried it and it worked, and I've never seen anywhere anyone mentioning it. So printf %b deprecated, interesting. Uppercase B would be interesting for me, like true or false, cool. And this one says deprecated using new programs. Okay, so this is why it's not documented. Is there a way for me to continue? What if I just say? You see, now I refreshed and it just gave me something that's like wrong. Try again. It's not valid specifier. It's not part of the thing. Damn. The first answer seemed to make sense, but now, and also this is not even for. That's not even for C. This is for bash. The Raspberry Pi uses a different C library than the one in your system. picolibc. glibc supports the B format. I'm probably not going to use it because it seems to be like so why would the man page for printf on my system not be the glibc printf? Alright, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to take as an answer the old answer that I've deleted now, that what it actually does is first converts it to a uint32t and then does the binary representation, which makes sense. Let's continue. So that's great. The next thing, and I don't know why I did bool actually, that's not going to be correct. Is there a point, I mean, packing the data, I don't know, it's obviously not going to be uint32t because it's only 4, oh no, it's 4 bytes, so it should be uint32t. Okay, great. Websocket. Then we have masked, which is just a bool, and now what we can do is this, put it here, because we start from the beginning, but this time we go to 1, because we've done 8. Masked. I don't need this, I don't need this. And this, I want to do, because it's a number, and I'm going to say masked. It's a boolean, I'm going to use hex for that. Masked. Let's do a bunch and then see what we can do. Now, it looks like the size may be different, but the first is actually 7. 0 to 125. What I found odd is it really 128 if with 7? Yeah, it is. So I'm going to read 7 bits, put that in a char actually, because that's gonna fit it correctly, and then I can check its value and then do something based on the rest. Now that's starting to get interesting. So this is called payload length extension data plus application data. So would be it's not really telling me what the second one is. So I'm going to say payload length code, or something like that. Maybe a char payload length code. Now what's interesting is 7, because I've already eaten 1. Okay, so the only thing I need to do is to grab this one and move everything by 1 this way, because I've read 1 and I just want to discard the rest. That's my 7. So let's start with that, and I'm going to print those, and then just for now, length type, I get a -8 on op, so I probably got something wrong going on. Masked says 1, so that again doesn't seem correct. Length type is 43, which that seems maybe okay. -1 on the opcode maybe is because I'm slapping -8. The opcode is the last 4, so there shouldn't be anything on the left. And when I move everything to the right, then I should really not have anything else in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to print in hex the buffer at 0, right? And then I'm going to do it by hand, see what I can get. Hex to binary. I always use that one. Hex to binary. That looks correct. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is really my actual number of characters there. And I'm going to say binary to decimal. I don't need to do that. And then those 4 are something, and this one gets me 8. I guess if the endianness was the other way around, then it could make sense. What if I printed this? I'm getting an 8 at the end. Yeah, so that's kind of like correct. That's what I get. But I wonder if like this is 4 bytes, but then these 4 I need to reverse the endianness. Like I need to basically read them in the other way around. Because this has a value 8. Well, first of all 8, and I cast that to a uintegrity, and that gives me the wrong thing. Maybe I need to cast it first. And then now the opcode is like completely garbageal. What is this into binary? I mean, it is kind of correct. But because everything is ones, I'm not getting the right thing. Now, would 8 make sense in the context of the WebSockets? I don't think it would. I'm getting that would be close. Maybe it is trying to close, but it is not closing though. But also it doesn't make sense because like if I look here, it sends hello, right? And if I leave it open, it's not sending me a close there, right? So I think that's probably what it is. Like the NDNS is swapped. So let me see. NDNS is big endian. Signedness is unsigned. The minimum number of bits. Interesting because opcode, I'm not getting any information about opcode. Like it's not telling me what the endian is. But if it is big endian, which I don't remember which one is which. Big to me makes sense, they would be on the left. So big endian is actually worse to read. Big endian seems to be, you get what's on the left, and that's the first one, which I think makes sense. So let's see, C, big endian to little endian. I don't want to go through, like, I mean, I know that I've got 4, and I could just like literally read them, but I don't know if I really want to do that. Yeah, but that's kind of what I didn't want to do, like the whole move byte 3 to byte 0, move byte 2 to byte 1, move byte 2 to byte. So you just like do all like in place. But the thing is, this is kind of in place, but I already got a copy of it. Byte swipe. Interesting. STD byte swipe. Byte swap. Not really what I want. Yeah, I don't think there is something that I didn't see. Let's do it by hand and see if we can learn something. So let's do that. I need a opcode. It's only 4 bits, so it's not even a byte. So I could put it in a char just to say I'm gonna. And because I've got 2 there, then I could do something like opcode equals this, which is correct. I'm gonna make it a char just to make sure. And then I can say opcode and equal. So I want to get the byte that's all the way at the left, and I want to put it all the way at the right. Because I'm you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to move them first. So they're still on the left, because they happen to be on the left because there's already 4 that are used there. So I'm going to get that one that's all the way at the end, and I want to put it all the way on this side, which is 0 in my mind. So I just want to do opcode and 1 moved by 7. Don't know if that works like that, or if I need to do 8. If I do by 0, it's there. If I do by 1, it's, yeah, so I move it by 7. So this is going to isolate the leftmost bit, and then that's it, because I just want to put it there, right? Ideally I would do this just to make it clear. Then I'm going to grab the one at 6 and put it at 1. Then I'm going to grab the one at 5 and put it at 2, and finally 3 and this. So I'm going to do, just to make sure I understand what I'm doing. Oh yeah, and then finally opcode and equal. Because I'm going an and the rest is 0, that's risky. So I think I might need to do a because I already have values at the beginning, so it's a bit risky. So I think what I need to do is first reset the last 4 bytes, which is going to be I'm starting to get lost in the source there. A character has how many hexadecimal? I'm there. I need to not drop. I need to just, I'm okay, I'm there. F So I get 4, so I get half of those, so it's exactly what I need. So I want to do 0x f0. Right, so this is gonna erase the 4 bits on the right. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is then grab the ones on the left, put them on the right, and then I want to erase the one on the left. But this, by doing an AND, is going to actually also erase the ones that I'm not setting in this value. So instead, I'm going to have to do a OR, which is going to keep everything on the left fine, keep everything on the right fine, except for the bit that is being set. So if it's 0, and its original value was 0, yeah, so I need to do an OR instead of an AND. No, wrong. These need to stay the same. This one needs to be updated. Okay, and then I'm also going to basically erase the end. So 0x 0f. Right, so I'm going to set everything just. So just to test it out, I'm going to print the hex value of opcode, and then I'm going to print the hex value of opcode when I'm done with it, and then I'll have to just play with what it means. I'm getting a 0 at the end, which I'm not exactly sure this is what I want. First, let's see. I should only have 2 characters there, which is great. So this looks correct. I'm erasing everything on the right, and I've got this this thing there. Okay, and then at the end I'm getting 0, which I don't think is exactly what I needed. Let's try to let's try to see this. Right? Because if I look at this, what I should see is the leftmost bit of the opcode. And we know that this is right now this. Although 7 is probably not, it is correct. That should be the right thing. So I'm still getting 0. What about I print this? I think I know what's going on. Yeah, so this is correct. Oh, I can't really do it here. I have to do it here. Okay. Ah, yeah. So when I do the end, okay. When I do the end there, I'm isolating the bit, but I'm not moving it into the right place. What I need to do actually instead is do this and 7, which is going to move it all the way to the right. Really? Unless there's a precedence that I'm not looking at properly there. Yeah, okay. I think that might be the case. So I isolate the bit, move it to the right. Okay. And then, and that's what I'm doing with, okay. Because what I was doing here is like, I was then getting this thing and putting it in a different place that doesn't seem correct. So this is what I'm going to do here. Move stuff to the right, and I'm going to match that number, 7, 6, 5, and 4. Does it make sense? If I get the 4th one, I need to move it by 4. Yep. And then I get 1 in buffer, which opcode should now be 1 if I do it properly. Okay, so let's assume this is what's going on. And obviously it's not ideal that I have to like manually do this like ND stuff, especially since that next one that we're looking at is the same, where this one seems to be 7 bits and is big endian. And obviously maybe what I should do is no, I'm not gonna make a function for that. I'll just do some manual stuff for now, and just we'll play with it later. So payload code length is the one that's going to be interesting, because I need to do the same thing. But first, I need to make a character out of this one. I can't do an in-place stuff, so I have to play with it. I have to do something differently. So I'm actually going to do a character. I'm going to set it to 0 to start with, and then I'm going to do something like this, where I'm going to say payload length code is going to be buffer at 1, and now I'm going to set it all the way to the left, and I'm just going to skip the last one. So buffer at 1, and it's also 7, and I move it by 7, but no, I move it by 6. Let me see if that makes sense. I get the leftmost one, and I want to go to set. No, I do want to go to the beginning. Yeah, it's just a number that I'm doing that's going to change. So in here, I'm basically going to want 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. And here, 6, 5, 4, 3, I'm sure there's like a billion other ways to do it properly. And then because I started with 0, it should be fine. And that's the payload length code. Set. Length type is 1. That does not seem correct. Let's look at buffer at 1 and see what bytes we have in there, what bits we have in there. Keep swapping those two. Did I do that hex? Yeah, so it's 5, 7, okay. 5, 7. So this should be the one that says masked, right? When I print masked, I'm getting 1. Oh, so is it masked then? Or am I reading stuff in the wrong way? Let's look at the other bytes after that. If I grab this, and then I say binary to decimal, and I convert it, I'm getting 43, which is the other number that I was looking at. But is there any endianness to do here? Because I kind of want to reverse that, right? That's the idea. Right. I can just type it. I don't want doing this. 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. If I reverse it, I'm getting 106. Now the thing is, I kind of know what's being sent. Does this look more like a 43 or a 106 is the question. And regardless of that, why does it say it's masked? Maybe it is masked. Let's read on masked in a bit. Frame is masked. Masking key is present and the payload has been XORed with the masking key. This is client to server. A client must mask all frames sent to the server. A server must not mask any frames sent to the client. Frame masking applies XOR between the payload and the masking key. That's where things are getting a little bit odd, because if it says the server should not, and then if I look at my number, which was hex to binary 57, then realistically that 0 here would be the correct value, right? And then this in big endian would be the number that I'm looking for. So if I go to binary, decimal, convert, okay. And that would be 87. If I remove this, it's still 87. So it will be 87 characters. What about the other one? Because that's where things are. Because right now I'm reading the others, and the others are like kind of okay. But what if I said 0 instead, and I printed that? I don't know why buffer at 0 has so many more characters displayed than when I go at 1. When I go at 0, I get all of this, but they're both characters, and yet printf adds so much to it. Oh, I know, because the rest is actually 0. It's the correct length. It's because I'm not providing a fixed length. You know what? I'm just gonna. Should I do this? No, I'm gonna keep the hex. I should give it like a fixed length to not worry about it. It's just that the rest was all set to 1. Okay, that's fine. And we're 81. Okay. So I'm actually gonna say, just to be accurate, because that's the real number. Hex to the binary to start with. If I was to read from there, then things would be terrible, because the thing that says these values must be 0 wouldn't be 0. So I start from there, which is correct, and then I get something. Yet when I do the other one, if I read from the right, it tells me that it is masked, when it's not something that should be masked because it's sent by the server. Am I reading the wrong byte? Maybe. I'm reading 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4. Now 4 and 4 is 8. So realistically, the offset in bits here, which be offset 8, is the first bit of the second byte. I'm not crazy, right? Let's see if this can help. Break down the bits of a WebSocket frame. Let's call it header. No, it's not called. Variable length, yeah. Fixed and variable parts. A fixed header of 2 bytes, a variable payload data, which I think makes sense. That's exactly what we're looking at. So you're basically spitting out Wikipedia from your weights. So 0 and 1 specifies in which I'm not reading data that is, I'm not reading a client to server frame, server to client frame, and this is a server to client. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to give it the problem that I have is, what if I'm not reading the network data correctly? What if the first two buffers for sure character, I'm reading more than 2, so I should for sure get the right thing. So now if I say printf %x buffer 0 buffer 1, maybe I use B, even though I said I shouldn't. So the rest is going to be like zeros at the beginning, and realistically I should have 8, which is 1, 2, 3, So that plus a 0 at the beginning. So let's try that. I think this looks like correct data. So I get this. Decode these bits. First 8 bits. Next 8 bits. And these are going to be these, right? And this is going to get an extra 0 at the beginning. So I've got 4 and 4, and then this one's going to be 4 and 4. Because 0 is so much wider than 1, it just doesn't look correct. Great to put it in decimal. I don't know why you would do that, but sure. The high bits of the header. Ah, interesting. So it's actually reading it differently than I was expecting, because it's reading it from the left. Unless it's fixed in that it is always 2 bytes, and I should get the second byte's leftmost bit as the first thing that I read. Did I send it too many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, so why does it say 20 bits? Yeah, this is just wrong. This is just wrong. So let's do an exercise in trying to map it the other way around, where if the second one is actually going to go like this, right? We're going to go and grab this. And then it needs to start with a 0, imagine. And then I've got another 8 here. Right. And we'll read it from the left. Then it will be 0, which basically says it's not the last fragment. Now maybe it is correct, but the number after that is 1. And 1 in WebSocket in here must be 0. Okay, so that's fine. So that means for sure this is what I need to read. But this one, interestingly enough, I can read it in any order and it would kind of yield the same value-ish. Yeah, because this one is kind of like symmetrical. So if I was to read from there, it would be, oh, this is the last one. Then I've got 3 with the RSV, or this is the last one, 3 on RSV, plus whatever that number is after that, which could be 1 or 8. So I can read this other one in either direction I want. So masked, so it should be 0. So this should be the thing that I'm reading first. And then these are the value that I'm going to get, right? And this is going to be a number between 1 and whatever, right? Now the fact that this is actually symmetrical means that I'm kind of fucked in terms of like figuring out which one is in which order. So I'm going to skip that one for now and just see what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to read it in a way that forces the mask to be 0. And then I'm going to try 2 different things. One is going to be the number, is going to get me a length that reads from left to right, one from right to left. And then I'm going to read the rest of the buffer with that many character bytes and see which one matches exactly the JSON string that I'm expected to receive and which one overflows or not. Let's try that. So what do I have right now? Right now I have like length type, which is 1, which seems to be incorrect, which would make sense. So let's start with that. Masked, I will instead read the leftmost one, right? And then I will say that this is just buffer at 1, and I'm going to simply remove the one that's at the left, set it to 0, which to be honest is already 0, but just to be safe, we're going to do that. So I'm going to force it to be 0 by grabbing to force it to be 0, I need to do a AND with everything at 1 except the last one, which is the same thing as 1, as not 1, no, not, tilde, 1 moved by 7, which is the leftmost one, which is going to be set to 1, the rest is 0, I'm flipping it, everything is 1 except the one that's at the left, just going to force it down. Okay, then I'm going to grab all of that mish mush mash and comment it out just for now. That's going to be my, so the mask and the payload length code, which I don't modify, should be something interesting. Now I've got 87. Okay, and now I can do %.*s and say data is buffer plus 2, okay, and how many? Payload length code, which is not really a code, it's just the length, but depending on the number you need to read more or whatever, which is interesting because maybe I should actually skip this. Basically what this is saying is you've got 7 if I'm less than 126, so it's going to be there and it stops, so I don't have a plus, so that's fine. The masking key is going to be 0, and then I've got the payload data, which is the payload length, so that's fine, so that should be just what I need there, right? Save that, run it. I'm sorry to say, but that looks to be correct. So that means I might not need to reverse reading some stuff, and instead read from the left instead of reading from the right in terms of bytes, which might actually be easier than that. Last check is going to be %d strlen of the actual thing that I got, which is going to be super annoying because it's full of quotes. It's not full of quotes, it's full of double quotes, which is double annoying. Okay. $87. Right. So that's correct. Now I do need to fix my header stuff reading because that's going to be incorrect. This is wrong, but it works because I'm reading it in order. What I need to read is 7, 6, 5, 4, and an opcode is going to be the buffer, and I need to mask down 0 and keep the last 4. I can just delete this. Let's see what that looks like. FIN is 1, 0, 0, 0. The opcode is 1, which seems to make more sense than 8. It is not masked, and I've got 87. Okay, so that's my decoder. Now I do want to do something like a bit more sophisticated in terms of like reading the next n or whatever. So what I need there is to say payload length if payload length is 126. So I think maybe I just do type. If it's smaller than 125, so actually 125 included, so it's smaller than 126, then I'm going to want to have a payload length equals payload length type uint 64t, because this is 64. No. 16 bits is going to be 2 bytes. 64 is going to be, why am I so dumb with these things? 8, and 8 bytes is a uint 64. Okay, so that's the max that I'm going to have in there. So that's what I want, which is also why I want a uint 64t payload length. Okay, else if payload length type is exactly 125, or 126, in which case I need to read the next 16 bits, which is 2 bytes, and I just need to slap them one after the other and put them into a uint64. So this one should be simple. It's payload length, which I'm going to initialize at 0 to just make sure it's really neat. Payload length equals, that's where I'm not sure in which order they're going to be. Oh, I just realized that the endianness is not on bits, it's on bytes, isn't it? And that's why Wikipedia showed it as these instead of doing something else. Unless I'm wrong. Which byte within a word data type? Ah, so big endian in this instance means that if I'm reading two bytes, because I need 16 bits to know the length of the payload, I should actually get the one on the left to be the one on the right, if I want to swap it out in the way my mind sees it. So buffer at 3, okay, and then I'm going to get 2, but 2 I'm going to move by 8 bits, right? And it's going to be an end, right? So I'm grabbing the 4th byte and I'm putting it right at as the value of my thing, my length, and then I'm grabbing the one out of the 2nd byte and I'm putting it more to the left. Okay, let's just assume it's correct. The thing is, until I get bigger payloads, I want to be able to know for sure. And this one is the same, but instead it's like 4 times that. So instead of reading MSB must be 0. MSB must be 0. Or the payload length. The most significant, okay, so the most significant one is always 0. So in reality, you're not really getting a uint64 value of it. You just have half of that. Fair. I mean, really, 16 and 64 is just times 4. So instead of reading 2, I need to read 8, which makes sense. So this is where I'm going to copy this, paste it there, and then now instead of 3. So I got 0 and 1 already used, and I want to copy 8 of them. So I need to go to 9, right? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, because I need to read 2, yeah. 9 and 8. And then they each, instead of being 8 here, I'm going to move it by 8 times 1. And this one I'm going to say 8 times 0. Just so that I've got something that's like slightly aligned here, like this, for example. And then this is going to become 7. Okay. 6, 5, 4, and 3 and 2. I really don't know if this is the right thing, but if I got it wrong, I think I just need to change something that goes up with something that goes down. But I do end up with here. So what does it start with this now? Shift count is bigger than the width of the type. Yeah, so this is where I'm starting to understand that. Oh, right. So the problem is that I'm going to need to cast that value to the uint64t first, because otherwise it's not going to work. Right? Because otherwise I have this many and I'm moving it by like way too much. But it's odd that it didn't say anything for even the first one, because can I really move it? I don't know. And then here I just need length and length. So this still works. Okay. This should also help me understand how I encode the frame and I send it. I may have to do something that just encode and send. Let's try to do maybe ping pong. It's just a bit, I'm not sending data with ping pong, that's kind of annoying. Maybe used for latency measurement, keep alive and heartbeat, both sides can send a ping with any payload. Okay, whoever receives it must, as soon as practical, send back a pong with the same payload. A pong should be ignored if no prior. Okay, so I can actually try ping pong. So I'm going to do, I'm going to try to send a ping and to parse a pong. And actually with that, I can send a really big ping and see how my stuff works. Static void, sure. Send WS frame, and I'm always, for now I'm going to send like terminated one. I do have the masking that needs to be enabled, so that's going to complicate things. But yeah, let's see. I'm going to make it static for now. I'm not going to do anything, and as soon as we are connected, I'm going to say send WS frame. So I want to send a ping, and the ping means that I need to write 2 bytes for kind of like the payload information, as well as the mask, because it's server to it's client to server instead of server to client. Right, so this is gonna have, the mask is gonna have to be 1, and the payload has been XOR'd, okay? And then I'm gonna need to I'm gonna have to just like pick a number. A 32-bit number can generate a masking key for every mask frame. So every new one's going to make a new key. I'll send the same one for now. So that means that because it's 32 bits, it should be 4 bytes. So that's 6 bytes plus my payload, which I'm going to send hello, which is going to be 4. So 6 and 4, 10. Let's start with that. Okay. You know what? I want to make a struct for this. I could just do it manually, but I kind of want to have a struct, and I can give that struct to something, and it just makes the header, or does something with it. And don't really need type def for this. I don't really worry about this. Struct ws frame, which is not going to contain like a bunch of stuff that I don't need. But first it's going to be bool this. These are always going to be set, so it's fine. Opcode is going to be a uint32t opcode. Then I have masked, which is going to be bool is client to server. Then the payload length, which I can just put there, uint64t payload length. And then masking key, which is optional, uint32t masking key, as well as something else at the end. Right, and then in here I'm going to have a static void fill in header WebSocket frame header. Where do you want to fill it in a char star buffer? So you just say, you know, whatever, and that should at least make sure that there is enough space in there. And what do you want to fill in? A struct ws frame pointer data. Right, so now I can actually just do this and then paste it right here, give it my buffer followed by my data being struct ws frame data yes opcode ws opcode ping, I'll populate it later, is client to server true, payload length equals length, which I haven't created yet, masking key equals 56. Doesn't really matter. uint32t length, uint64t length, sure, why not, equals strlen payload const char star payload equals hello. Opcode is missing. Enum ws opcode ping, is it 9 and 10 they say? Where's my opcode? Keep losing the opcodes. It's opcodes before or after? Ping is 9 and pong is 10. Start with that, and this can become ws opcode, enum ws opcode. Okay, this seems to be okay, and this should actually return how many bytes it wrote in. So let's start with the first, buffer at 0. And buffer at 0, I think, I don't remember what my revelation was, that I needed to read from the left first. I think that was the case. If I read from the left, then basically I need to say it is, and now this is where things are going to get spicy. Something moved by 7. Data moved by 7. And, right, okay. What's after that? There is 3 zeros, if I remember well. Yep, and then the opcode, which is four characters. So what I need to do then is do nothing for a certain number, then put data at opcode moved by or literally nothing, right? Oh, that's very easy, because that's just that. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. I'm going to keep this layout because then you can see what you're writing. I'm actually going to add a comment, which is thing like bit 0 fin, right? And here we're going to say bit actually I'm going to put it the other order so I can understand. 7, no, don't care about this. Bit 320, no, the other way around. 7-433 opcode, and do like this. Okay, don't know if this is the best way I want. Okay. Okay, great. So next we have buffer at 1, and for now I'm not going to do the logic of like which one should you do. I'm going to make it a fixed length. This one seems to be almost so this is going to be masked. So data is client to server 7, right? Which is where I can just document later. And data payload length, and that's it. Except that if I do this, the payload length is likely going to try to override. Same thing with opcode. So I need to make sure that the left 4 bits of yeah, so I need to have 0. I'm going to do it the other way around because that way I cover all the sizes. I'm going to say and the flipped version of, and I need 4 values, 0xf, is that it? I want to make sure that the 4 bits on the left of buffer at 0, actually this is the 4 bits on the right, but the 4 bits on the left of opcode, because I'm flipping it around, are because we're talking about bytes here. Am I doing the wrong thing? No. Opcode needs to be a char, and I think that enum automatically becomes something else. So I do 0xf, which is 4 ones all the way to the right that I flip, and that becomes everything on the left is 1 and everything else is 0 on the right. But if I do an AND, then that's going to fuck it up. So I should do an OR, right? Maybe not super satisfied with that, but we'll see. This one's going to have the same logic, but not exact, because what I need to do with this one is to make sure that I only grab 7 values and nothing more. So if my payload length if my payload length is bigger than 7 bits, I want to make sure that like that 8th bit there is not written there. But that should never happen, because if it's bigger than that, then it's going to be 125 and 126, which means I can write it there. So I think I'm going to ignore this for now. The only worry that I have is that because I'm doing an AND, this value here is going to have everything to the left be 0. So I do need to worry about that. So this needs to have an OR with something in there that's going to make sure that I have 7 ones on the right. And to do that, I'm going to do it manually for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then flip it. So I got 7 zeros on the right. I do an OR, which means it's going to basically take anything in payload length for those 7. Everything else is going to force it to 1, because an OR of 1, it doesn't matter what the other value is, OR is going to be that. That should be my value. And here I'm going to return 2. Actually, here I'm going to return 3, because I'm hard coding the fact that I need to add the mask, because buffer at 2 needs to become the I'll have to flip it around to see if that works. And I'm also going to need to XOR the payload. Buffer at 2. So this is when I'm sending it, I still need to make it big endian. So buffer at 2. This one and this one. The risk that I have there is because there's multiple operations. There's, if I get the endianness wrong, the server is going to XOR the payload and stuff is going to get really weird. Let's write some code and then think about it later. For this one, I'm going to say that you are the data at masking key. And that's fine, because if you overload, then I might just also cast it just to make sure. And then 3 is going to be this with this, well, still char, sure, with this actually moved this way by 8, because this 8 is 1 byte. That doesn't seem correct. The masking key is 32. 32 is going to be 4 bytes, so I need to do 4 bytes moving by 8 bits, which means I need to do this again. So 3, 4, 5, 16, 32, no, 24. It's not, obviously we have to do the multiplication, a bit better, but yeah. So I do this, and obviously now I'm actually writing 6, which is kind of the number that I was expecting. So I'm going to do this, and then because I know it's 6, here it's going to be uint32t header size is this, and now I can do sprintf buffer plus header size, and I want to write a %s that is payload. Now make a big to do here. To do XOR mask the payload with the masking key. Now the good thing with XOR is that I think if you apply XOR twice, it does the right thing. So let's, I've done a bunch of stuff for a while. Stack smashing. Stack smashing. That looks so cool. What the fuck is a stack smashing? Malicious software writing new opcodes into memory and arithmetic. Okay, so it looks like I'm basically writing in the place that it's trying to execute it. And I'm doing that like right away. So let's see. Header size is going to be 6. I'm writing 4 characters. So am I writing too many here? Is the stack smashing happening at sprintf? I'm gonna, yeah, it looks like it is. I'm gonna add address sanitizer in there as well, so I can figure it out. But at 10, if I'm written at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I move by 6. Buffer plus 6 is where I write, and I write the payload that is 5 characters because I'm a bit dumb. Right, I'm not necessarily receiving Pong. Also, I am not necessarily sending the thing, obviously. Buffer 11. Invalid message continuation. Okay, cool. So what I'm getting back now, I'm actually getting a second payload there with an opcode being 8 and then the length type being 30. So 8 I know is close, so I think it's trying to close me. Did OBS say something? So it is disconnecting with invalid message continuation. So it's basically probably saying you didn't really encode the payload properly, right? Which makes sense. So XORing the data that's being sent. I guess the data I'm sending is completely arbitrary, so I could just XOR each byte. How do you XOR with a key? Is it every byte is XORed, or every 32 for every max? Because this is going to be a lesson of 32, so I probably need to take 32 by 32 and then do something like that there. Let me try to send it first, to send it with an empty string. So the payload should be that, and then obviously that becomes 6. I don't really need to sprintf, and I'm sending 6. It's possible that I'm doing something wrong here with the payload length, so I should probably print the buffer. I am going to use the B. I know it's not really supported, whatever, but it's super useful. Let's start with 0. Buffer at 0, I'm expecting, let's see what I'm expecting first. I'm expecting 1, 0, 0, 0, and a 9 for here, which is going to be a 0. No, it's going to be 1, 0, 0, 1. So 8 and 1. And that's great because that way, if this is like in the right order, I can see. If it's flipped, I can see that I'm doing the wrong thing. Ah, well, that does not look correct at all. It looks like I'm not writing the opcode. So I may be like wiping the opcode by doing the wrong thing with my 0xf. F is going to be, when I use 2 hexadecimal characters, it does 1 byte, unless I'm completely wrong. But like when I go to F, that's 15. And then I've got 16 variants of a 16 value, which should be about 256, which is okay, so that's correct. So this, which I could clarify being this, is going to be a bunch of ones on the right and a bunch of zeros on the left. And if I negate that with the tilde operator, I'm going to get a bunch of ones on the left, all of them, right? And then I'm going to get a bunch of ones, a bunch of zeros on the right. And if I do an OR, is going to preserve the things on the left of my opcode. So it's exactly what I don't want. What I probably want to do is to is it not what I want to do, is the question. If my opcode is 9, I've got a bunch of bits on the right. I want to preserve those bits. And the way I preserve them is by saying and. No. Okay, the key there is that I want to make sure, because I'm using an AND for the joining of the two things that I'm adding there, I want to make sure that everything that is not going to be added to the buffer at 0 from the opcode is set to 1. So I want to make sure that every single bit from index 4 and onwards to the left is 1. And by doing that, and in doing that, and the way to do that is to get my opcode and to apply an OR masking on it that has a bunch of ones on the left and exactly 4 zeros on the right. That doesn't seem correct, because if I have a bunch of 4 zeros on the right, I'm never going to get anything. It's gonna zero my my actual data, right? If I do an OR with 0 there, it's not going to work. But if I do an AND, 0 and 1, it's going to be 0. I don't even know how do I force a specific area in bits to be 1 I mean, XOR seems to be like the right thing to do, right? Because that way, if either of the one is 1, it's going to be set to 1. Yeah. So the thing is, I don't remember this one in C. It's this one. So let's see. Let me think about that. I've got a bunch of yeah, well, I need to do it here anyways, here as well. I've got a bunch of ones, and then the last 4 are 0. So that means that all of the ones that are 1, they're going to be forced to 1, because it doesn't matter. It's an exclusive OR, so only one of them has to be. That seems to be incorrect. Only on one of them. But then if I go to the OR, seems to be like the right thing. Like, I don't know what I'm thinking. Let's just do something. Let's just because it's the end of the week. I'm getting a bit tired, and I'm getting hung up on like tiny things. this is going to basically tell me what I'm looking at first. 2 and this one, yeah. So that seems to be kind of correct and not, because my opcode has a bunch of zeros on the left, and I have, yeah, that's correct, and I have exactly 4 values, which is half a byte, which is 4 bits, and these 4 bits are what I need. That's correct. What if I end this with something that has a 1 at this position here? Then 1 and 1 is going to be correct. This can be 0, 0, 0. 1 and 0 is not going to be okay. So this is my end that is not correct. If I OR it, then it should be merging it together. And by making sure that everything is a 1 there, is gonna this seems to be correct, but then I have a problem with the stuff on the left, because I'm supposed to get a bunch of zeros there instead. So the way this would work is to zero out the this one by doing the reverse of. So I want everything, I want to do the end, which to mask it, I need to put the ones where I want to, and it will force it to 0 if it's not there. Actually, what I want to do is to force it to 0, so I want all of the things on the left to be 0, and the last 4 to be 1. So it's super simple, I just need to do this. Good, okay. Sometimes I want to resolve the entire thing in my head to like prove that I can do it, but I think that one of my limiting factors is probably the other way around. It's just like I actually need to do that. So yeah, I need this. So in reality, these are 8, which means 1, 2, 3, 4 F, and this is the value that I need, which is 1, 1, 1 in, but I'm not going to do that because it's going to be impossible to read. So this should be fine, and I don't need to flip it around because I only want to grab the last 7 bits of payload length, and I want to OR it with the other one. Now opcode is 10, length type is 0, so everything's fine. Now obviously I didn't XOR the data that I was sending, so okay, this is working. I'm getting excited. Hello, right? And I'm going to do this, and obviously this becomes 11 again, this becomes 11 again, and then I'm going to write in here, and then I'm getting so interesting, because the length that I'm sending is 5, which is correct, and I'm getting back 5 for the Pong. Yes. The ELL seems to be correct, and the reason why it would be correct is if by XORing it by 56, it would yield the same number. What happens if you XOR something with 0? It doesn't do anything. Great. So I could just send a masking key of 0 and everything would work. Not exactly what I want. The problem with my XORing is that the key is 32 bits, 4 bytes. It's a 4-byte long key. And I don't know if basically I need to grab my 5 characters and turn them into 4 and XOR that, and then 1 XOR that with the new thing, or if it's XOR on each character. For the sake of making it easy, I may just leave it like that, just so I can play with it. Let's see if I'm printing stuff that I don't need. Maybe not. So the thing that I want to do now is I could try to actually make it change the scene. Set scene name. That's not really that. I think it's more a profile. Is there a current? It's going to be impossible to read. A lot of events. What I want is requests. Current scene collection changing. Is it current profile? Was it profile scene? Set current program scene. And then the data is this. Oh, interesting, because this is basically the JSON. Request ID and scene 12. I'm going to copy this. And the opcode is 6. Actually, this is the entire payload. That's literally what I need. And obviously, here I'm going to have static. You know what? I'm just going to copy this. Because obviously I'll make this a, actually, you know what? I'm going to make it right now. I'm going to say you are a, you receive a const char payload with a uint 64t payload length. And then what I need to do then is buffer equals, no, I don't need the buffer just yet, nor the payload, nor the length, because this is payload length. And now I can do char star buffer equals malloc. I think I got a malloc somewhere, I don't have a free, so I'll need to look at that. I'm doing malloc here. I don't want to worry, like, I'm gonna make like 5 mallocs in this whole thing. I don't think I need to set up arenas and all that stuff. I may actually have like a pooled request stuff to like a bit of a fake arena, but like that way you can just say, oh, I want to send a request. This is what's allocated. Malloc header size. Oh, that's the problem, is that I can't know the size before allocating, but I can't allocate with that before knowing the size. So I may need to do something that says get the size. So header size plus payload length. And then here I'm going to do uint 60. I mean, I guess the payload can be quite long, because if I can send a uint64t, but it's uint64 minus, it's only half of that, right? Not really half of that, but like, because you need at least 1 byte to store that data. I'm going to use uint64t, but it's unlikely that the, I know what I'm talking about. The header can never be uint64t. It equals to get OES header size of and data, which obviously need to exist. Get OES header size. I'd rather calculate it ahead of time, so I don't have to like malloc a bunch of stuff. And here we're going to say uint32t size equals 0, return size. And the way it works is we need to have at least 2 bytes, 1 for this and 1 for this and the base. And then depending on the value of this, which is where it's annoying, because like I have to open the payload length. Actually, no, the payload length, I can just check if it's bigger than 125 and do that. But for now, I'm just going to say I'm not going to support stuff that's bigger than 125. So this is going to be, this is the second byte. And then I just need to add 4 if this is client to server. And I just need to do if data dot, no, client to server size plus equal 4. I'm gonna get my 6. Okay, header size, I don't need to recalculate that one. Okay, and then I do this and I write it, and for sure. And this is the final thing, which is going to be header size plus payload length, free buffer. Okay. Now I should still have some error somewhere, but should be fine. So now what I want to do is char const char payload equals, and now I'm gonna have this annoying thing of dealing with skipping quotes. Bear with me for a second. Okay, now we're good there, and now we just need to have this one, 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 this one can be finished. This one, finish that one. This one, oop, this one, finish. This one, finish. Okay. Sure, I will do that for you. Payload followed by strlen payload. And the problem is that right now I'm kind of hard coding ping, and I'm going to change it to text, because I think this is what it was sending to me. And I wonder if, like, when you switch to the other message type, it changes from text to something else. And text is 1. Okay, so the only thing that I need to change there is that this scene 12 is actually going to be called chat in my instance. This hopefully is less than 100 and whatever the number is. Invalid use of reserved bits. Okay. Why did I receive an 8? That's close, I guess. Let's try to make sure that what I did before worked. Invalid use of reserved bits. Okay. Let's try to go back to ping and send nothing. Why am I receiving OP6DR? Oh, because I am also doing it here. Okay, so it's working. I'm getting pong, and I guess I was pinging with the other one anyways. All right, so let's see if I can give myself just about 10 minutes to see if I can figure some things out. I guess if I don't XOR, but I XOR with 0, so it should be fine. It wouldn't be able to read it properly. And there is the problem with the reserved, invalid use of reserved bits. That feels like a WebSocket error. And that means that I may be writing in those RSV things, which seems odd because it didn't really complain there. Unless I'm putting these things in the wrong order. And it didn't show up with the other one because I was sending 9, but now it shows, no, it doesn't make sense. Shouldn't really do that. So I'm gonna I'm gonna just look at the bytes of buffer at 0 and then the ones at buffer 1, which I may want to do this first. Let me check, because I got payload. I write payload at buffer plus header size, and I fill in buffer, which just was mallocked, so that should be fine. So that first one looks very correct. There's nothing reserved. That second one is a little bit suspicious, but maybe not. Because that second one should be masked, and this is the length. And if that length is more than 125, then I would be writing in the mask something that should be there, which is not correct. That looks too small, 17, if I'm being honest. That looks too small. Payload length is there. Payload length. Data, payload. I realized that I didn't put any music on, and that's why it felt a little bit quiet. 145. Yeesh! Ah, that's annoying, and I've already removed the line returns and stuff like that. Can I have a short request ID? Can I make it really short and save some space? I can actually save those spaces here. I don't want to look at like adding, like encoding. I think I could do it properly. I don't want to look at it right now. I think request ID, I could just do whatever I want with it. I hope that it doesn't have to be a UID and it just sends it back. You attempted to use a non-identified message while not identified. Ah, interesting. I disabled authentication, and I wonder if you still need to do identify first. But it seems to have worked this time. Let's see if we can do identify quickly. Identify is 1. And do I need to send anything? The client listens for the hello and response with an opcode 1 identify containing all operations and parameters. If there is an authentication field in the message data object, the server requires authentication. If there is no authentication field, the resulting identify object sent to the server does not require an authentication string. The client determines if the server's RPC version is supported. Okay. So let's quickly do a state update. Upgraded. Then we have waiting for server hello. Then we have identify waiting for server identify. Let's do that. So now I've got upgraded. So if I am where's my big JSON one? Here. This I'm gonna delete, and if I am upgraded, I'm gonna grab this, and then I kind of need to parse the data, but I'm not gonna do it. Instead I'm gonna say if dummy count, actually I'm gonna expect the right value. If state is state waiting for server hello, I'm gonna assume that this is hello, in which case I will send this. not really, but that's a template. Sure, leave it like that. Else if, and that's where maybe upgraded is not correct here. I'm just gonna have to say if any other state than those two, then the only thing I need to receive this. Okay, payload length. Else if state equals state waiting identify, which I think I did. No, it's there. Then I'm gonna grab this and slap it down there. So here I need to change the payload with the opcode being 1, and the data, this is where it's a bit odd because message object is just authentication, and if there's no authentication field, there is not, does not require authentication string. So I think I just need to identify here, sent from freshly connected, sent to WebSocket, response to hello message should contain authentication if authentication is required. So I think this is kind of what I need. RPC version is the version of the client would like the OBS socket to use, and event subscription optional, authentication optional. So I'd literally just need RPC version being a number. That's going to be annoying, but let's just try with it. And is it in D? I guess it is. RPC version. Did I have it printed here? 1. Okay, so I'm just going to say 1. And then these can disappear. So the only thing that I'm missing is I'm not going to write, so I'm doing upgraded, and then I'm going to come here, and this is going to have to be upgraded. So upgraded, I'm kind of like waiting for the hello, and then the only thing that I'm missing here is after sending, I need to set the state to state waiting for server identify, because I've sent the identify. I need a much better state machine for those. Unable to code JSON. Okay. I did an extra comma here. Okay. What about? Oh, I'm sending tons of stuff. I was like mega looping there because I received some stuff. Like I received the response and I said, here I need to make sure I need state equals 999. Okay. My face must have changed on the stream. That must have been weird. So if I go back to code and now I run it, it should not like go on non-stop. Yep. This should have done one thing, and I've got scene transition AD, and this is my face. What a great transition to my face saying we're in a good place. This is nice. I'm gonna end it here. This is a good place. Next, I wanted to do a bit more, but I'm actually happy delving into those things. The bit order and everything is interesting. Next, we absolutely have to look at more than 125 bytes sent and received. That needs to be sorted. I also want to design a little bit more of a state machine for the initial thing, because I have this like single state that I go through, but the names are terrible. And it's very much a thing where it's like, you need to connect, you need to do the upgrade handshake. After doing the upgrade handshake, you need to do the identify. Well, you need to wait for the hello, then you need to do the identify, and then you need to wait for the response for the identify. When you get the response for the identify is when you can send stuff. And the sending stuff is going to be that. And then finally, I want to switch from JSON to the MSG pack thing, which seems to me like it might be a bit simpler in that encoding data that I want to send. Actually, maybe simpler to read, because I can just like browse through and then you can see a type and then jump the number of bytes that you need. While with JSON, when you have like an open curly bracket, you don't know how many characters you need to read until like knowing how big that thing is. And then once we have that, then it's just a question of designing an interface to control the scenes. I'm on two different minds. One, we could do a read, like get me all the current scenes and get me the current one as well, and then have a control which says go to next, and it would cycle through them. Or two, you just know the names and you just, or the UIDs, and you use those to control it from the key. But yeah, pretty happy with the stream today. I'm gonna go now before I start something else, and then I go too late and I don't have a little bit of time tonight to unwind before I have to go to sleep. But that's it. So as always, thank you for coming along, and we'll do more tomorrow. Bye.